Not ever blame the fact that Robyn and I had a deep love on the way that these other relationships.
Welcome back to GlowGossips USA, where the truth behind the smiles is finally exposed. For years, fans believed they had seen every twist, every betrayal, and every crumbling moment of the Brown family unfold on screen. But what if we told you the biggest secret of all has been hidden in plain sight? In the shadow of heartbreak, broken marriages, and financial ruin, Kody Brown quietly made the most shocking move of his entire life. He secretly married another woman. And not just any woman, but one with a past that threatens to rewrite everything we thought we knew about the sister wives saga. This isn't just another tabloid rumor. This is the story that shook every corner of the Brown family, and no one was ready for the truth. It all started with whispers, as they always do. Behind the scenes, while Robyn was posting curated family photos and Kody pretended to be focused on rebuilding his fractured relationships, something far more calculated was taking place. Kody had disappeared for long stretches, claiming business, property issues, or needing space. But insiders now confirm those were lies. He was flying to southern Utah, where a quiet, spiritual ceremony had already taken place. The name? Savannah Reade, a 38-year-old former fundamentalist with a fierce independence, a deep belief in plural marriage, and a sharp awareness of Kody's vulnerabilities. Savannah wasn't a stranger to the Brown family. Years ago, she'd been connected to Christine's extended relatives, even attending church events the Browns frequented. But she never caught the spotlight, until now. According to one source close to the family, Kody felt seen by Savannah. She didn't see him as a failure like his other wives. She saw him as a man still capable of building something powerful, something spiritual. In Savannah's world, Kody wasn't the disgraced father, the failed husband, or the out-of-touch patriarch. He was a visionary, and that was all the permission he needed. The moment Savannah entered Kody's life, everything shifted. Where Robyn had once been the queen of the castle, suddenly she felt a chill in the air. Kody's late-night phone calls became hushed. His visits became shorter, and the emotional energy that once tethered him to Robyn now seemed to drift toward something or someone else. When Robyn finally confronted him, sources say Kody denied everything. But Robyn wasn't naive. She knew that look in his eyes. She had once used that same gaze to pull him away from Mary, Christine, and Janelle. But what Robyn didn't expect was that Savannah wasn't playing the same game. She wasn't chasing reality TV fame. She wasn't interested in designer homes, TLC cameras, or curated Pinterest-style marriages. She believed in spiritual union, commitment, and power. And she believed Kody was a man still capable of leading a true plural family. When Kody asked her to become his spiritual wife, she didn't blink. The two were sealed quietly in April, off camera, without Robyn's knowledge, without family approval. Just Kody, Savannah, and a promise that would ripple across every corner of the Brown legacy. Back in Flagstaff, Robyn's world began to unravel. She'd always feared losing Kody, but never imagined it would come this way. Not through legal battles or financial collapse, but through emotional starvation. She started noticing small changes. Kody's laptop now had a password. His phone was suddenly face down at dinner. He became distant from Solomon and Ariella. The man who once promised to give her and her children everything was slipping through her fingers. Then the final blow, an anonymous message delivered to her inbox. He's already married again. Her name is Savannah. Ask him. Robyn didn't sleep that night, and when she finally asked, Kody didn't deny it. He didn't explain. He didn't apologize. He simply said, "It was something I had to do. You wouldn't understand." That was the moment Robyn realized her power was gone. The control she once had, the manipulation, the tears, the guilt trips, they meant nothing now. Kody had already moved on, not just emotionally, but spiritually. And for a man like Kody Brown, that meant everything. But Robyn wasn't the only one blindsided. When Janelle found out, her reaction wasn't rage. It was laughter. "Of course he found someone else," she reportedly told a close friend. That's what narcissists do. They never face their own failures, they just replace the people who hold them accountable. Christine, now happily remarried to David Woolley, had a different reaction. Heartbreak, for the kids. Kody doesn't understand what he's doing to his family. Every new woman he adds is another nail in the coffin for the children he's already abandoned emotionally. Mary, however, was eerily silent. Sources close to her say she's entered a stage of total detachment from Kody's actions. She's done. She's over it. She's building her own world now. Kody could marry 5 more women and she wouldn't flinch. But deep down, insiders say Mary was furious. Not at Savannah, but at Kody for proving once again that loyalty and effort mean nothing to him unless they feed his ego. What makes this entire saga even more devastating is how the kids are reacting. Garrison, still healing from his estranged relationship with Kody, reportedly said, "He can't even show up for the family he has, and now he thinks he deserves another one?" Gabriel was more biting. "I used to think he just didn't know how to parent. Now I realize he doesn't want to." As for the older daughters, Maddie and Mykelti have gone silent, refusing to comment publicly, but insiders say they're livid. And then there's Savannah Brown, Janelle's daughter, who was named after a woman now attached to the family in the most bizarre, haunting way possible. According to one close source, Savannah feels like her identity was stolen. She cried when she found out. She said, "He replaced me with someone who even has my name." If true, this might be the most brutal psychological blow yet in Kody's unraveling legacy, but here's where the story takes an even darker turn. TLC, which had already been distancing itself from Kody's controversies, is reportedly in talks about canceling future involvement with him unless full transparency is given. The network allegedly feels blindsided, especially after Kody refused to allow camera crews near Savannah Reade or acknowledge the relationship on air. Executives are demanding an emergency meeting to decide whether to continue filming or to cut ties altogether. Meanwhile, Savannah Reade remains in hiding, shielded by Kody, kept from the public eye, but slowly gaining control of his daily life. Sources say she's now making financial decisions, influencing property talks, and has even discussed moving to Flagstaff permanently. "She's not going anywhere," said one family insider. "She's the new queen, and Robyn knows it." But the real question remains, how long can this fragile empire hold? Kody Brown has now left behind a wake of broken women, shattered children, and scorched trust. And yet, he continues chasing an illusion of spiritual rebirth, dragging down anyone who questions him. For now, the Browns are left in emotional limbo, facing the fallout of one man's secret decision to start over. Again.
Has told us that she's leaving Kody for good. So I'm a little bit nervous because I'm like, okay, are we going to be able to be around each other and be normal?
As the morning sun broke through the blinds of Robyn's once peaceful home in Flagstaff, the silence in the house felt heavier than it had ever been. The woman who had spent over a decade manipulating emotions, commanding Kody's loyalty, and casting herself as the eternal victim was now crumbling. Robyn Brown, once the final wife, the favorite, the so-called peacemaker, was now just another woman in Kody's long, scorched path of abandonment. The moment she confirmed the truth, that Savannah Reade was real, and she was already spiritually married to Kody, Robyn's carefully curated world began to collapse brick by brick. Sources close to Robyn say she locked herself in her room for nearly 2 days, sobbing uncontrollably, refusing food, ignoring calls from her children, and even silencing her own mother. TLC producers reportedly attempted to reach her, desperate, for a statement, a reaction, or even footage, but were met with chilling silence. Her inner circle began to worry, fearing this betrayal was the final straw after years of pressure, guilt, and emotional decline. But when Robyn finally emerged, something had changed. The woman who stepped out of that bedroom wasn't the Robyn the world knew. She was quiet, vacant, and terrifyingly calm. Robyn wasn't just heartbroken, she was shattered. And not just because Kody had married someone else behind her back, but because Savannah Reade was nothing like her. Savannah didn't crave the spotlight. She didn't dress in boutique jewelry or pine for television validation. She was modest, sharp, religious, and completely uninterested in Robyn's sob stories. And that was the real wound. Robyn's power had always lived in her ability to control the emotional narrative. She cried at the right moments, spun guilt like a master, and made herself Kody's only safe emotional harbor. But now, someone else had become his piece, and she didn't even need to cry to get it. When the other wives learned about Kody's secret spiritual marriage, the reactions varied, but the common thread was disbelief. Janelle was the first to confront Kody, meeting him outside a neutral space in Flagstaff. It wasn't anger in her voice, it was exhaustion. "You replaced your family, again, without a word, without facing us. Just like you always do," she told him. Kody didn't deny it. He simply offered one cold line: "I did what I had to do for my own healing." That phrase, "my own healing," echoed in Janelle's mind for days. Healing? After abandoning Gabriel and Garrison, after publicly humiliating Christine, stonewalling Mary, and ignoring the kids who begged for his attention? This wasn't healing. This was delusion, and Savannah Reade was enabling it. Christine, now married to David Woolley and living a life filled with real love and laughter, didn't hold back. When the news reached her through the grapevine, her first instinct was disbelief. He married someone else while claiming he was trying to fix his relationship with the kids, she said during a private live stream. Her fans watched as her face hardened. "You don't get to start over while pretending you never destroyed what came before." Mary's response, however, was eerily quiet. Behind the scenes, she was preparing a strategic move, something she'd been building for months, a tell-all, memoir, one that included the raw, painful truth of her years in spiritual limbo, her humiliation after the catfishing scandal, and the emotional manipulation she endured while Robyn climbed to the top of Kody's hierarchy. And now, with Savannah Reade in the picture, Mary had a new ending to her story. "I wasn't the final casualty. Robyn was." But this wasn't just a family drama anymore. TLC executives had been watching the storm from the sidelines, increasingly uncomfortable with how off the rails the Brown family narrative had become. They'd seen ratings dip as viewers grew tired of watching Robyn cry and Kody spin the same tired excuses. But this secret wife, was different. It was scandalous, unapproved, and hidden from producers during contractual filming periods. Kody had crossed a line, one TLC couldn't ignore. Sources inside the network confirmed an emergency meeting was held at the Los Angeles office. Executives were split. Some saw this as ratings gold, while others feared Kody's behavior was no longer entertaining, but dangerous to the show's integrity. "If we can't control the narrative, we lose the audience," one insider said. And now, with Savannah Reade refusing to be filmed and Kody growing increasingly defiant, the network was leaning toward ultimatums. Kody was called into a private Zoom session with executive producers and legal counsel. On the call, he was given two options: fully disclose the marriage on camera, introduce Savannah to the audience, and allow her to participate in filming. Lose all remaining contractual payouts, including property rights to Coyote Pass royalties and future syndication benefits. Kody, ever the narcissist, initially threatened to walk away from the show altogether, claiming TLC had betrayed him by siding with the other wives too many times. But producers stood their ground. "You've already lost Christine. You've lost Mary. You're estranged from Janelle. And now Robyn has stepped back. If you want to keep your contract, this is your last chance to be honest," they warned. Savannah Reade, when briefed on the situation, refused to appear. "I didn't marry into television. I married into faith," she said, drawing a hard line that made Kody feel cornered. And for a man who thrived in front of cameras, the idea of stepping into obscurity again was terrifying. But Savannah's influence had become overwhelming. She now managed Kody's bank accounts, oversaw the property talks at Coyote Pass, and even spoke directly to legal advisors about moving Kody's LLCs under a new umbrella, one that excluded Robyn. This move triggered Robyn's full collapse. For years, she had believed that no matter what happened, she and Kody were eternally bonded. But now, she was being erased financially and emotionally. In a tearful call to her mother, she said, "He's slipping through my fingers, and I don't even know who he is anymore." Her children, particularly Aurora, were also shaken. Aurora had seen Robyn fight tooth and nail for Kody's attention, only to watch it evaporate the moment Savannah stepped into the picture. She reportedly screamed at Kody during a private argument, calling him a traitor and a coward. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Janelle and Christine began talking again. really talking. Not about Kody, but about the damage he'd left behind and what they could do to protect their kids emotionally and legally. There was discussion of starting a nonprofit centered on emotional recovery from toxic polygamous structures, something that had long been taboo among their circles. Christine had already seen the public's response to her openness post-divorce. Janelle, more private, finally felt the urgency to speak. But the real twist came when one of Kody's former church elders publicly confirmed Savannah's identity. In an interview that went viral on Reddit and TikTok, he said, "Yes, I married them. It was a spiritual ceremony, and yes, it was done in secrecy." I asked Kody if this would affect his family, and he said, "They're already broken. This is my new beginning." That clip shattered what was left of the fan base's patience. Twitter erupted, Reddit threads exploded, and TLC had no choice but to release a statement acknowledging a major development in the Brown family structure that would be addressed in a forthcoming special episode. Robyn, sensing her control slipping forever, made a bold decision. She sat down in front of her phone and recorded a raw, tear-filled video message to her fans. "I didn't know. I wasn't part of it. I thought we were still trying to rebuild, but I was wrong. He moved on without me." That clip went viral overnight, racking up millions of views, but not the sympathy Robyn hoped for. The comments were brutal. "You didn't mind when he left the others for you," one viewer wrote. Another said, "Karma wears a veil, Robyn, and today she looks like Savannah." By the end of the week, the family had become a war zone of silence, legal meetings and back-channel drama. Kody, caught between his new wife's boundaries and his old fame addiction, found himself spiraling. He couldn't control Savannah, couldn't pacify Robyn, couldn't stop the tidal wave of backlash. And now, even TLC was warning him that if he didn't fix the public narrative soon, his empire would crumble for good. But Kody Brown, as always, believed he could outrun the truth. The truth. The sun had barely risen when Kody sat alone in his truck, parked outside the empty Coyote Pass property. The land that once symbolized dreams, unity, and legacy had now become a haunting monument to everything he had lost. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was deafening. Behind him, 4 spiritual marriages lay in ruins. In front of him, the shadows of a new life with a woman the world barely knew threatened to erase what little control he had left. His hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, but for the first time in years, Kody Brown had no direction. No plan. Just fallout. Savannah Reade, the woman he now called his spiritual wife, had become more than a partner. She had become his handler. Within weeks of their quiet sealing, she had moved to Flagstaff, taking up residence in a modest home just 2 blocks from Robyn's. It wasn't about flaunting or proximity, it was strategy. Savannah didn't crave status, she craved access. She began taking over small decisions. What meetings Kody should attend, which lawyers to hire, how to restructure what remained of their business ventures. But it wasn't just paperwork she was reorganizing. She was subtly redrawing the boundaries of his entire life. Insiders say Savannah's influence grew fast and deep, in part because Kody was desperate for structure, something he hadn't had in years. But others saw it differently. Janelle warned, "She's not saving him, she's replacing us, and he's letting her." Christine, always more blunt, said during a private group Zoom with the older kids, he needed someone to worship him again. She does it, but not for love, for power. The idea that Kody, who had long claimed to be guided by spiritual principles, was now being emotionally manipulated by a new wife wasn't lost on anyone, least of all Robyn. By now, Robyn had descended into a spiral of paranoia and grief. She barely left the house. Friends said she cried uncontrollably every night, questioning whether Savannah had been in Kody's life even before the family splintered. The emotional monopoly she once held over Kody was shattered, and her children, especially Aurora, had become collateral damage. Aurora, already struggling with anxiety, had taken her father's betrayal personally. "You abandoned Mom, then you abandoned me," she reportedly screamed at Kody during a tense visit. "You don't deserve to be our father anymore." Meanwhile, TLC's pressure was mounting. The network couldn't ignore the firestorm of public speculation, viral social media threads, and Reddit exposés tearing the Brown legacy apart. Ratings had spiked again. Not because fans believed in the family's love story, but because they were watching a train wreck in slow motion. Executives wanted Savannah on camera. Viewers wanted answers. And Kody? He was spiraling between fear and arrogance. In an emergency production meeting, TLC delivered an ultimatum: film a sit-down tell-all with Savannah or forfeit all financial royalties. Kody backed into a corner, turned to Savannah and pleaded, but Savannah stood firm. "I didn't enter this covenant for ratings. I don't owe the world anything." Her refusal sparked chaos behind the scenes. Kody lashed out at producers, calling the network exploitative, while privately begging them not to cancel the show. He needed the platform. He needed the money. But more than anything, he needed the illusion of control. And then, the internet struck. A viral TikTok posted by a former acquaintance of Savannah's lit the match that would ignite the Brown family's darkest scandal yet. In the IRR video, the woman shared alleged journal entries, texts, and voice messages from Savannah's past. The claims? That Savannah had been previously excommunicated from another polygamous sect due to manipulation, financial exploitation, and rumors of coercing younger women into spiritual unions. She knows how to play the part of the perfect wife, the woman claimed. But what she really wants is control over powerful men, and she found her golden ticket in Kody Brown. The clip racked up millions of views overnight. Reddit sleuths uncovered more: court records, past marriages, and even a whispered connection to a failed attempt at establishing her own sect in Colorado. Savannah's calm, quiet demeanor was suddenly cast in a chilling new light. Was she the savior Kody believed in, or just a new brand of manipulator, colder and smarter than Robyn had ever been? Kody, for once, panicked. In a desperate attempt to salvage his image, he recorded a solo video for fans. "I know people are questioning everything right now," he began, his eyes tired, his voice trembling. "But I believe in spiritual callings. I believe Savannah was brought into my life for a reason. I made mistakes, but I won't apologize for listening to God." But fans weren't buying it. The comment section was brutal. "You've abandoned every wife and child who ever loved you. Stop hiding behind religion," one user wrote. Another added, "This isn't about God. This is about ego, and we've seen enough." The backlash triggered something in Kody, an emotional unraveling no one had seen before. Robyn, who had been silent for weeks, broke her silence in a leaked voice. Memo sent to her sister. "He's lost. He thinks he's found his purpose, but he's chasing a ghost. Savannah doesn't love him. She owns him. And I let it happen." The pain in her voice was unmistakable. The woman who had spent years believing she was Kody's final chapter was now watching him write a new book, with no room for her in it. Meanwhile, Mary, long considered the silent casualty, made her most shocking move yet. She launched a national press tour for her memoir, titled "The Last to Leave: My Life in the Shadow of a Lie." In interviews, she exposed the psychological warfare of Kody's favoritism, Robyn's tears as tactics manipulation, and the moment she realized the man she loved was never coming back. "He didn't just break our covenant, he broke every promise, every piece of trust, and every ounce of who I was," she said during a sit-down with a major morning show. "But I'm not broken anymore. I'm free." Her words struck a chord. The book hit bestseller lists within days. Fans rallied behind her, praising her strength and survival. TLC producers saw the shift in momentum and floated a new idea: a spin-off series featuring Mary, Janelle, and Christine rebuilding their lives, reclaiming their stories, and supporting each other through the chaos left behind. And the most shocking part? They all agreed. Kody's phone didn't ring for days after that. Not from his children, not from the network, not even from Robyn. He was now living in near-total isolation, trapped between Savannah's tight control and the ruins of the family he once ruled. TLC eventually confirmed they would no longer move forward with Sister Wives in its current form. Instead, the spotlight would shift to the women, the ones who had endured, healed, and risen from the ashes. As cameras rolled on a new beginning for Mary, Janelle, and Christine, Kody watched from the sidelines. For the first time, he wasn't the center of the story. He was the cautionary tale. Savannah remained by his side, but her influence now cast in doubt. Rumors swirled that she was negotiating book deals of her own, secretly recording conversations, and planning a documentary centered not on Kody, but on the darker side of spiritual marriages. Whether she was playing a long game or truly believed in her mission remained unclear. In the final days of summer, Kody walked alone across the dry earth of Coyote Pass. No cameras, no wives, no children, just wind and silence. He paused at the center of the land he once swore would hold a mansion for every wife. Instead, it held nothing but dust and broken dreams. He looked up at the sky and whispered something no one else could hear. Maybe it was a prayer. Maybe it was regret. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the sound of a man finally realizing he had no one left to blame.